Hi, who am I speaking with today?
You're speaking with Everett Dunkley.
And today, what will we be talking about, sir?
We'll be talking about racism, how it's affected my life, and how it's currently possibly still here.
So, what are your firsthand experiences growing up in Natchez, Mississippi in the '80s on racism?
Okay, I grew up in Mississippi in the 80s, and it wasn't per se a in your face where someone said something to me. However, it was just a way of life in Natchez where I grew up. There was a north side of town and a south side of town. The blacks lived on the north side of town. There were your schools and grocery stores and that sort of thing, and the whites were on the south side of town. A few blacks, but it was predominantly white, especially the high schools. It did not integrate until 1990, and my youngest brother was the first class to integrate in high school.
And what civil rights leaders came out of this town, Natchez, Mississippi?
Three would be Wallace Jackson. If you look him up, he was a great civil rights leader who was bombed and killed. Medgar Evers was there. Not Medgar Evers, I'm sorry. Charles Evers, the brother of Medgar Evers. His son is one of my good friends. And then Jessie B. Williams was a lady. My parents were very active in civil rights in the 80s and 90s. However, they weren't one of the greats to come out, but they did pave the way for a lot of progression for black people.
And what was the school situation between the schools in Natchez, Mississippi, and can you go into further detail on the segregation of the schools?
Yes. My junior high, which was called Sadie B. Thompson, was my parents' high school. It was one of the best schools in Natchez. However, what happened, from what my parents says, well, history actually says it, that the blueprints got mixed up. That school was supposed to be on the white side of town. It had an auditorium, a cafeteria, and a swimming pool, and it was just huge. And the my black people went to that school. But again, as I said, the blueprints got mixed up. It was supposed to be on the white side of town. But I did go there for junior high, and that was in the 80s, early 80s. And my parents graduated in the 60s.
And the segregation and racism throughout the 60s and 70s in Natchez, can you tell us the major experiences?
It was there. Again, my parents were in the NAACP, and they fought for justice in the city, justice for a lot of black people. My father was one of the first black police officers. He started a lot of things for that. But in the 60s, civil rights was very much going on in the city. My mother's siblings, my uncle and aunt, participated in one of the civil rights marches, and they ended up going to what we call Parchment in Mississippi, and a monument at City Hall was just erected. But their experience was horrible. What happened was when they were arrested just for marching, the women was put in one jail, about 30 women. The men were put in one jail cell, and they were given X-Lax, stripped naked, in one roll of tissue. In that experience, my parents weren't there because there was so much racism going on. We left to go to Kansas, but we later moved back because my mother's father ended up getting sick.
And what is your take on racism today throughout the South?
Well, not just the South, throughout America. America was woven in the fabric of racism. Blood, sweat, and tears of black people is how America was made. Racism is alive and well and present. We face it every day. A black person, I say, has to work harder, be more astute, and present himself or herself more sharp than a white person, because it's that preconceived notion that we're lazy or that we're violent. And it's every day, especially in Texas, especially in Florida. What's going on now with the book banning in Texas with Well, we see it every day with the police brutality. So it's very much alive, and we've made some progress, but not nearly as much as we should. But it's here.
And thank you for the interview, sir.
You're welcome.